I know it's a little early, but Merry Christmas if you're here live or watching on the replay. I think because of the stress of the year, everybody wants the year to be over, that I think, and people are looking for something to celebrate. People are looking to get their mind off everything that's going on. People are more, this is my sense tonight, more in the mood to get into a holiday spirit than ever before, just because of the craziness that there's been this year. And people aren't having to deal so much with the hassle at the malls and all that, because it's not possible. So that kind of takes a relief off. Anyway, so kicking off, returning to doing live streams. I'm hoping to do Friday nights, dedicate myself to, and I had some actually planned tonight, but I'm going to have to put it off till next week, specifically for this. But hoping to get back into the groove of doing Friday night lives, kicking off the next 4 weeks with the theme of Whiskey Santa is coming to town, and get more into that next week. In the meantime, let me say hello to everyone who's tuning in. Noah, thank you very much for tuning in. We're talking a little bit about Ardbeg 25. He's drinking the Ardbeg 20. Grammy Young, thank you very much for tuning in. I'm pouring myself. What I decided to do tonight, just to shift, is do a head-to-head between the AnCnoc Peatheart, 46% alcohol by volume. I believe it's unjilled, non-colored. If you can get it at the retail price, it's probably $40-50, somewhere around there. I was unable to find this online. However, people have been commenting on my review of this whiskey, which came out on Wednesday, that they've been finding it here in the United States. So maybe so you could have like a lot of local liquor stores with really good inventory, but they don't post their inventory online because they're not going to get into shipping and all that. There's a really good whiskey shop and wines and beers and everything else, but right down the street from me, about a mile down the road, and drop in there at least once a week, but they don't put the inventory online. You can't order online, and it's because you're shipping and all that. So people have been finding it. It's just you can't find it necessarily online. Sorry. So I'm going to pour myself a little bit of this. And then I'm going to go head-to-head with another one, do a side-by-side comparison with another whiskey, 46%, okay, 46 and 46. Price-wise, this used to be like 46. Now I'm going to see creeping up around 55. So price-wise, in the same ballpark. If you're paying retail, you're not paying for shipping and all that kind of thing. So 46 and 46. This is the Ardbeg 10 Islay single malt Scotch whiskey. One of my favorite. This is probably the fifth bottle I think I've gone through. I've kind of lost count. One that I have always thought is the highest quality price ratio, period, single malt Scotch whiskey, and it's a real go-to of mine. So I'm going to go head-to-head between these two for the most part and do a little bit of review. Now, I've already recorded another video, which we'll play tomorrow or post tomorrow after this, and that is a head-to-head between the Peatheart and the Octomore. If you saw my review of the AnCnoc Peatheart, I said that I'd mentioned, and I didn't mention which one, that it kind of had, I was getting kind of an echo and a deja vu of another whiskey, and it's the Octomore 8.1. So this does not have, or even before I get into this, does not have the oceanic components that Ardbeg, Laphroaig, and Lagavulin typically do. So, which is why I didn't in the review put them head to head. But for comparison-wise, though, in terms of ABV, they're close. In terms of price, if you can get it at a retail, they're close. And color-wise, I know color doesn't necessarily always look. It doesn't. The cameras don't pick up color really well all the time. So showing it to you, what I see and what you see, maybe two different things, but what the heck? Show it to you anyway. Basically, what you see is look at it. Look at the color in it, or the lack thereof. Really, very similar in color. In other words, no added coloring. They have that sort of light lime green color to it. So very similar with the Octomore. Just a little heads up. The Octomore, It's a little bit darker. It's a little bit darker between these two. One thing I forgot to do is pour myself some water. So while I pour myself some water, I actually have an angel. Excuse me, not an angel. I have an elf with me, standing by, and he's eating dinner, and he's been drinking a lot of soda pop. So anyway, I'll let him keep busy.
Did you hear that?
Yes, I heard that. That was rude. Jeez. God, I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize. He's not real well-mannered. He's a human, but is raised by elves, and he doesn't know our customs. So I'm sorry about that. Anyway, give me some water here for cleansing of the palate in between drams. Should have thought of that ahead of time. But, you can only do what you can do. Noah says, it's 2 a.m. in Journey. Got to go to bed. Wish you a nice stream. Hey, hope you catch the replay. Jack White, thank you very much for tuning in. All righty. Moisten the palate. All right. So doing head-to-heads, doing comparison of videos of whiskeys. Hey, George Kaplan, thank you very much for tuning in. Noah, are you still there? Just give me a sec. Just say yes or no if you're still there. I'm going to ask something for you. Real quick. It'll be real quick. George Kaplan, thank you very much for tuning in. For those who don't know, George and Amy have been the ones who have been the gifters of the whiskey advent calendar that I've been doing those little 1-minute videos. All right. So when doing head-to-head, doing comparison, you compare, a California Pinot Noir versus a Burgundy Pinot Noir, a Cabernet Sauvignon from Napa Valley versus Bordeaux. You want to kind of go head-to-head. I will catch a replay. Hey, Noah, okay, send me your mailing address. I'm going to put in my email address. Send me your mailing address. I'm going to send you a gift. I'm going to send you one of my coins. So send it to, hold on. Send it to my email address, ERIK, oops, I can spell my own damn name, IKWAIT, oops, start at COM. Send me your mailing address as a thank you gift, and Merry Christmas. I'm going to send you one of my coins. Send me your mailing address, and I will send you as a Christmas gift one of my coins all the way over to Germany. And good night as you head off to bed. All righty. And that offer is just for Noah, as he was in the chat before I went live. All right, Merry Christmas. All right. So doing comparison, you want to get things as close. Cameron Lochner, thank you very much for, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Thank you very much for tuning in. It looks like he has a Marine Corps emblem. Hoorah. Semper Fi. I was in the Marine Corps a very long time ago, 1985 to 1989. I was a 5811 military police. Spent my first 2 years with the base MPs, last 2 years with the Air Wing, MWSS 372, Marine Wing Support Squad 372. So, yeah, no, just send me your mailing address, and I'll try to get this out as soon as I can. So that way, hopefully, you can get it before Christmas. Sending over to Europe, I don't know how much things get held up, but send me your mailing address. I'll mail it to you. Well, dude, I'll be reviewing this all night long. So if you got to go to bed, you can go to bed. It's no obligation. All right. So let me state the obvious. The whiskey, kudos to you. Thank you very much. Thanks, Al. Thank you very much. So, Al, it's got to be late. So it's got to be, let's see, 7. It's got to be like a little after 1 a.m. over there. Semper Fi, MOS 1833, Amphibious Assault Unit. What was your last duty station? Was it Pendleton? Because you would probably be you would have been down in the Delmar area of the base. That's on the southern part along the beach. if you're a Pendleton down there. Anyway, so to state the obvious, the intensity of the smokiness, the brininess character, and all that, Ardbeg is, I mean, if we're going to go, if these are going to compete in terms of aromas, man, the Ardbeg really wants to dominate on the nose between these two. Amphibious and salt bagels. So I'm kind of curious when you served as well. A lot has changed over the last few decades. It's been a long time since I've been out of the Marine Corps. Yeah, just after one. So Whiskey House says just after 1 a.m. But when I saw you going live, I stayed up. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. So, if those who don't know, Whiskey Straight Al is over in Ireland, and he also is a whiskey tuber. Check him out. So, the Peatheart. So, this is a 10-year-old, and this is a non-age statement, right? Peatheart's a non-age statement, and youth and youthfulness is showing up now. When I reviewed it on its own, when it stands on its own, I think because that, and again, I haven't gone to the palate yet. Because of the smoke and peat, sort of, I think, masks some youthfulness to it. But when you take something that's got that youth character to it and you put it up against something that's got some age to it, by comparison, it's going to make it pop, right? So the youth wasn't showing up when I originally had it or had it before, but now at youth, the character sort of pops. I went to school in Del Mar. Okay, I thought so. Last duty station, Camp Lejeune. That's on the East Coast for those who don't know. Courthouse Bay. Okay. Right. So believe it or not, I know we're talking about Marine Corps stuff. Believe it or not, I've been on one of those amphibious salt vehicles, but it's back in the 80s. So we're military police, but we would get something called FAPS, Fleet Assistant Program. People come from other units to fill in different areas. They might be guards at the gate, something like that. Well, we had an armorer, right, who would issue us our 45s before we got our patrol cars, whatever come out. And I don't know what unit it was, but that's what his unit was amphibious assault vehicles. So somehow they worked that out to where we could go just for a day, go down there and go for a ride. And basically it's like you're in a box. It's not a bit, and you're going out in the ocean, out there in the Pacific Ocean, off the beach, and there was like one spot where you could sort of pop your head up and come to the beach, and then the thing comes down and you go right out. But that was about it. It wasn't much to it. I preferred when I was out 29 Palms, out in the stumps. I got to ride in a tank, which was cool, and we got to go around on a CH-46 and then a Huey, stuff like that. But that was when I was a good knocked Noah. Anyway, same ones. It said AAV P7A1. Interesting. I'm going to start telling Marine Corps stories since we're talking about it. All right. So much more intense peat. There is a little bit of that saltiness, brininess character. When I originally reviewed the Peatheart, it also had a little salty character to it, which makes me wonder, can salt actually get through the cask? Where does that come from? Is it something which is a character in the peat and somehow comes through? I don't know. Joey Shortpants, thank you very much for tuning in. So if someone's not into peated whiskeys, and what you didn't like about peated whiskeys was that medicinal note, iodine, on all kind of character, particularly from Lefroy, then this, and I said this in my video, that this is a really good place to start. Even though it's not lightly peated, I mean it's intensely and well interwoven peated whiskey, but it doesn't have those medicinal characteristics, which I think is probably more of what puts more people off than the peat smoke and all that. And this also comes across a little bit more chocolatey than say does the Ardbeg. It's funny, now the Ardbeg's actually coming across more ashy than I had particularly recalled. So what are you guys drinking? Let me know. Put it into the comments. So if you don't follow me on Facebook, I have a little Facebook group, and if you want to join my Facebook group, I put more post stuff. I put other videos. I put photos of what's coming up. You kind of get a glimpse of what's coming up on my channel. Try to do a little bit more communication there. The platform works better than the Patreon platform, but I need to improve my communication with Patreons. So if you have a Facebook account, join the Erik Wait Wine and Whiskey Studies group on Facebook. But when you put in a request, you're going to get like 4 questions. 3 of them are standard. They're recommended, basically about your behavior. Don't be a jerk in the group. Don't insult people, that kind of thing. And then I have one particular question. I think the one question I put in there is, are you a subscriber? And that's it. So join the group. So I did a video explaining something on there. Whiskey straight. He got an Irishman drinking bourbon, whiskey straight ale. Cameron's drinking a Kilkerran 8 cast strength 57.1. Awesome, nice. Joey Shortpants is drinking a Lafroig Carchis 2017. I have the 17 Triple Wood, which is an absolutely spectacular. Of all the Carchis, that's the one I really, really like. I also have a Lafroig Carchis Pheno cask, which, to be honest with you, I'm not real big on. Jack drinking Buna 18 night. Nice. Sort of a big brother to the 12-year-old, if I recall correctly. So, if you're doing head-to-head, you want to stay within the same group. You got to be fair. I mean, you can compare price levels, you can compare profiles and stuff like that. I try to, for the Octomore 8.1 comparison, I'm doing more from aroma and flavor profile in comparison to the similarities between them. So one of the purpose of this current study, what I'm doing on Highland peated single malt Scotch whiskies, is Islay versus Highland. Is there anything unique about some of these Highland peated whiskeys that makes them say they're very distinct from Islay? That's one of the things I'm working on. So you got to do a lot of comparisons. So in terms of the fruit character between these two, very similar. So lime green, green apple, those kind of characteristics, melon, a little bit of a tropical note. The fruit characteristics, which comes from fermentation, very similar. Smokiness, this is more like a milk chocolate without all the briny oceanic character. This, and by comparison, this makes Ardbeg seem more oceanic than normally would. Because when it's like, imagine having a brand new white t-shirt, right? You just took it out of the package. Ooh, nice white clean t-shirts. And then you go get one of your older white t-shirts. It's been laundered. It's clean, but you get your older white t-shirt out of your dresser drawer. When you put the brand new one take out of the package and you put it up against that one you've worn a gazillion times, the one you've worn a gazillion times doesn't look as bright white, right? As does the brand new right out of package white t-shirt. At least mine doesn't. Maybe your wife or someone does laundry better than I do. It's similar to that comparison, but when you don't really notice the dinginess, how your white t-shirt's not as white as it used to be, until you put it up against a brand new white t-shirt. And whiskeys kind of do that too. Certain characteristics don't really pop and shine, become noticeable until you compare them. And that's why doing head-to-head videos, it's fun as well. I like doing it. I mean, who doesn't like drinking more than one whiskey? Got 2 hands, drink 2 whiskeys. But from a learning perspective, it really accentuates the differences between the 2 whiskeys, and it's really, really good. So even on your own, if you want to really understand the whiskeys, you got to compare side by side. You got to go side by side. All right. Or another comparison, let's say you hear a high school musician, some kid. Oh, wow, he's really good. She's really good at the piano, whatever else. Then you get someone from the London, Philharmonic, right? San Francisco Symphony, something like that. And then you go, oh, well, that's a whole other thing there, right? They sound really, really good until you put them up against the professionals. It's kind of like that. All right. On the pot. So I started with the Peatheart because even though I'm going to drink some water, I kind of suspected that if I started with the Ardbeg, that might really dominate my palate and linger and make it difficult to then compare it. But we'll see how that goes. By the way, I do have a chocolate cookie to compare with them as well. Buna 18. So I don't think I did it, but do a comparison video, or if you have it, Jack, if you have, do you have the Bunnahabhain 12? Try this. Do a head-to-head between the Bunnahabhain 12 and the Buna 18. So this is, it's hard to tell because it's completely opaque. It's hard to tell. Wow. You have to shake it. It's hard to tell. You can't look down this way and go, how far down is it? It's too dark down there. And it's completely opaque. It's a cool bottle, but I wish, I'm guessing it's about here. I'm guessing it's about here based on the sound. The Ardbeg 10 is way down here. As it's opened up, when I first had it from neck pour, I would say the chocolate character was the dominant, and then the spirit sort of came up after. Things are actually a little more interwoven, but now it's showing some different notes than when I had reviewed it. And that's, whiskeys are going to evolve. You get more character out of them as you get more and more oxygen in there. Actually getting almost like a little bit of a nutty character. The chocolate is becoming a little bit more of a dark chocolate versus a milk chocolate. There's a little bit more of a tannin going on there, a little bit of which is astringency, so just that much. So there's more like the interior part of a candy bar, the nougat, and all those kind of characteristics. So it has developed a little bit since I originally reviewed it or opened up, but it's still within the same character. It had some sort of wonky radical changes. Whiskey Al says, let me bring it up here. So Al says, the Bunnahabhain 12 is amazing, fantastic quality for the value. I've only had a sample of the 18, great, but hard to beat the 12 for value. Yeah, totally. So 18 is actually fantastic, but it's a huge leap. And I don't remember how much it is, but I remember it is a large jump in, I don't remember how much it is, but it is a large jump in the price tag. And that's the real debate is, I think I can like the 18 more than the 12, but when it comes to, for the buck, I'm still going to go back to the 12. George says, neath the way the bottle. Have you feel like that? Opaque. Yeah, it's a cool bottle. The Octomore 8.1, which is in my video posting tomorrow. Yeah, you almost got to weigh it because other than that, you're not going to be able to tell what the difference is or how far you are down into the bottle. So how are you supposed to know? See, here's the thing in terms of purchases. So I can see this bottle. I'm right down to here. All right. Down to there. Seeing this, I'm like, oh, you know what? It's getting close to time to buy a new Ardbeg 10 because it's getting low. I should go buy one. Or if you have friends over, right? So with this, though, it's not it's not so much a good idea. If it's a readily available whiskey, you can get another one. And you have friends over. What if you pour? Oh, crud! I'm out. I didn't know I was out. Oh, I didn't know I was running that low. If I'd known, I would have bought another bottle. See, it kind of sets you up for that, right? Or you pour yourself. Oh, I was so much in the mood for it, and oh, there isn't more in there, or there isn't enough to go around for the people you got. because you can't see through the bottle. So I would say from a marketing perspective and a sales perspective, they're probably not that concerned about that much. Having the opaque bottle has that particular disadvantage. What they could do actually, and they don't, you could put a strip going up the side to where that one little spot you can see how far you're down in the bottle, and that would tell you how much you got left in the bottle. But whatever, it would cost more probably because they just go spray it, paint it, slap a label on it. It'd take a little more for that. Whoa. Jack White says it's about $140 for the 18. He said he paid 89, but it's 140, 160 in most cases. Yeah. I was thinking it was over $100, and the 12 is probably like 55 or somewhere around there. Beth Higgins, thank you much for tuning in. The Bunnahabhain 12, I mean, everybody's neighborhood change is different, but the Bunnahabhain 12 is probably like around 55. Cameron Youngstrong, thank you much for tuning in if I didn't see you already. That is tasty. They could be making a lot of mouth noises, but I'm live. I can't edit it out. No complaints. No complaints. An absolutely superb whiskey. If I can get another one in the United States and not have to pay shipping and all that, I will definitely jump on one. Drink a little bit of water. We'll go side by side with the Ardbeg 10. So when I drink water, I actually swish a lot more rather than just drinking it. The one thing though, so I'm drinking, water's kind of cold. Probably should use room temperature water because the real coldness of the water can sort of give a shock to your palate, sort of shut things down a little bit before going into the next whiskey. So I prefer cold water in terms of drinking, but in terms of something you want to have ready for going from whiskey to whiskey, I can talk and warm my mouth back up just by talking. But if I was doing a rapid video, wanted to go from bottle to glass, or particularly if you're doing wines, don't use cold water. You want to use room temperature water and try to use, this is filtered water. So it goes through a filter. So use filtered water. Don't use tap water. My tap water here is the worst. It is absolutely horrid. So I use a Brita filter. So you want to use tap water, and it's best off at room temperature. So doing head-to-heads, to be fair to the whiskeys, similar in character. Now you may choose, okay, these two whiskeys are similar character. This one's more expensive, or this one's more expensive, and so you can go, hey, look, these are similar characters, similar score, but this one's cheaper. Therefore, this was the better value. Therefore, I can recommend this one. Or side by side and go, which is what I'm doing here more than the money wise. Is similar in character, 46. They look similar. Similar ABV, non-chill filtered, no coloring. But one's Highland and one is Islay. And I would say probably for Highland Peat, if you think of what to expect from a Highland Peat, this is probably hitting what might be somewhat of a stereotype or profile. In other words, without all the hyper oceanic characteristics, whereas the Ardbeg 10 is with all the oceanic characteristics. So it's almost like two cousins growing up in different types of Scotland. This was a 40 ppm, if I recall correctly. Yes, 40 ppm. The Ardbeg 10, of course, we're talking pre-fermentation and pre-distillation. 55 p.m. Should be 55 p.m. And you'll see in the video, like Octomore 8.1, I actually get more into that in the head-to-head between the Peatheart and the Octomore. But post-fermentation and post-distillation, what really matters in terms of ppm is post-maturation. not as much as pre-fermentation. How much is sticking around? Because peated whiskeys, the longer they age, most of the time, there are exceptions, the smoke in the peat becomes much more integrated, and that's noticeable, and so it seems to fade. So much older peated whiskeys, 25, 30, 40, that the peat smoke isn't as aggressive. Say that compares that, say, with the Wee Beastie, right? 5-year-old, or the Lagavulin 8, right? Another really young one. The peat and the smoke, and people like that, is much more aggressive. So age is a bigger factor, or I would say a major contributing factor as to how the PPMs actually end up becoming displayed and perceived on the palate more than what originally started. So, the Octomore is, I think it was 167 ppm. Ooh, 167 ppm. Ooh, oh, wow. Well, what's it like after aging? And it's aged, if I'm going by memory, I think it's an 8-year-old. I think it's an 8-year-old, plus all the different casks, what kind of cask you use as well. Doug Christoph, thank you much for tuning in. He said, just happened to be sipping on a tin when I ran across your live. Well, thanks for tuning in. Cameron said, Eric, through your Irish whiskey studies as of late, did you happen to try any Middleton Knockrath Forest series? No, and not readily available. I mean, you can. So I was going to do just 2 months of Ireland, right? I was going to do like August and September, and I didn't finish until the end of November. So I did a lot more Irish than I originally anticipated, and I enjoyed them all. I think I got a really good, solid, big picture of Ireland. But by the end of November, I was ready to move on. Cold weather coming on because I'm wearing this jacket. It's going to drop to 40 tonight. It's like 61 right now. I was in the mood for peat and ready to move on. And I think a lot of my viewers, Eric, we're ready for you to move on. Drew from Arizona, thank you much for tuning in. The 10-year-old Ardbeg 10. Now, how long a bottle has been open? This has been open probably close to a year, because it's down to here, probably close to about a year. This hasn't been open as long. Fill levels about halfway here. So the Ardbeg 10 is a little bit lower, but it's had more time to spend more time on oxygen. But from my memory, it's still displaying, I would say, classic Ardbeg 10 characteristics. It's this much. There's a little bit of a youth note that shows up in comparison to other Ardbegs, or in comparison to some older peated whiskeys. But it has more of a campfire smoke to it. It has a little bit more of the oceanic character to it. If I recall correctly, going by memory, Ardbeg 10, it might have some sherry cask. I think correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. I think it's primarily bourbon cask, but might have a little bit of sherry cask in it. So it brings a different profile to it. So Drew says, have only tried Wee Beastie from Ardbeg. And the Wee Beastie uses some sherry cask, which I think was a wise move to help counterbalance some of the characteristics of age. If you can bring some more characteristics through different casks, you can kind of not cover up, but sort of make up for, counterbalance some of the characteristics of youth. And I think Wee Beastie, that's one of the things that does really well, is people like that big, intense, smoky character to it. And then if you bring in a little of that sherry character, that little bit of that sherry character in it helps bring a different edge to it than just straight bourbon cask. And I think that's what gives the advantage of the Wee Beastie over the Lagavulin. Even though Lagavulin 8 has 3 more years, I think the Ardbeg Wee Beastie 5-year-old, the share characteristics were really helping out. I did a head-to-head video, if I recall correctly. You get older, you can start forgetting things. And I definitely prefer the Wee Beastie over the Lagavulin 8. So, hey, Dustin Silva, how you doing, man? Long time no see. Dustin, if you want to, if you're set up for it, I'll put in an invite. That's for Dustin. Hey, Jeremy's in the house too. Jeremy, if you want to come on, I'm gonna put in the link. So Jeremy, if you want to tune in, and Dustin, if you want to come in, there you go. No pressure. If you're not up to it, if you're not set up for it, if you don't feel like it, whatever else, no big whoop. I was going to do my original plan. Okay, no problem, Dustin. So originally my plan was going to do, so most whiskey tubers, you get towards the end of the year, you look back on what's gone through the year, and you sort of sift through all the whiskey you do, and you create a top 10 list. Some people, or you have your whiskey of the year, however it is you want to do it. I typically post my top 10 of the year on January 1st. I wait till the year's actually over. Some people, they've finished all the whiskeys they're gonna do, so they're ready in end of November to post that. So mine will be on January 1st, and I still need to sort through notes and scores and that kind of a thing, and see my top 10. So I was going to, however, say who's naughty, who's nice. Would have been naughty, who's been nice and good for 2020 in terms of whiskeys. But I thought, you know what? I should probably hold off that sort of take or look at whiskeys towards the end of the year and do that as more of a part of my top 10 thing. Oh, Jeremy says he's at work. No problem. I'm glad you could tune in while you work. By the way, Jeremy, I still have those 3 whiskeys. I've been waiting for the opportunity, and now they've been on my mind. So Jeremy sent me some whiskeys, little samples. They've been sitting right here, and now that I'm in the peated whiskey mood, I've been trying to figure out what the best way I want to do this. So I'll show you guys something. So Jeremy does. He buys the little casks, and he season them. What do you want to call it? And he does his own whiskey blending, and he does his own videos on them. And one of these days, I'm going to try doing it myself. I'm going to be a lot of fun. So this is a Lagavulin 8 port finish, and there's his. If you guys aren't subscribed, so Sipper Social Club, check him out. If you guys aren't subscribers already, he's doing like 26,000 subscribers. Yeah, these are your cask finishes. I never got around to doing these. So you sent these to me like in the middle of summer, and I was doing other things, and I wasn't necessarily like really in the mood for peated whiskeys at the time. This is your Springbank 10 port finish. Springbank 10 port. So there's Jeremy's logo. Springbank 10 port finish. But since these are peated whiskeys, and I'm doing Highland peated whiskeys, I might do these as a short, a whiskey short. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. Or if in that time you're available, we can come on. You can come on live, and we can do this live. And this is an Octomore 27.1 blend port finish. So these are from Jeremy. These are Social Sipper Club. These 3 whiskeys he sent me, and I just haven't figured out what's the best way to do it. What's the best way to? I could just do a video on it, but I've been sort of playing. Maybe we could do a live or something like that. But I'll think about it. Anyhow, back to the Peatheart versus the Ardbeg 10. So, more of a chocolate character. The youth shows up a little bit more on the Peatheart. A little bit more oceanic, a little bit more seaweed, briny character to it. And they both have, sort of a similar youth note in their core, like down the middle. Both have that similar saltiness to them. Mouthfeel is just like basically the same mouthfeel. Length of finish is basically the same. Hold on. So what the Peatheart does essentially, It's in some ways similar to the Ardbeg 10, but remove the oceanic influence and those characteristics, and that's what you got. Now, if I was blinded on these, would I necessarily then conclude, oh, well, let me look. If I was blinded on these and I was told one's Highland and one is Islay, no problem. Boop. This is Islay. I mean, stereotypical Islay. Not a problem. Easy comparison. However, not all Islay peated whiskeys have those characteristics. So while that may be sort of a stereotype of Islay, not of them all that have those characteristics. And so, and I'm giving you a little heads up for I'll go ahead. My video will be posted tomorrow for the 8.1. Octomore 8.1 does not have the characteristics that Lagavulin, Laphroaig, and Ardbeg have, the stereotypical sort of oceanic characteristics. So this would be an easy contest to figure out which one's Highland peated versus which one's Islay peated. But the Octomore 8.1 versus the Peatheart, I say it in that video, I wouldn't be able to tell you which one's Islay, because it's so characteristic. So this is similar, at least in one way, in one respect, to Octomore in that character. All right, Donner Pass, how you doing, neighbor? Jeremy's great how-to videos on cask finishing inspired me. Oh, he did a 1 liter PX sherry cask in the middle of doing the whiskeys now. It's a matter of time. But I think I would like to sort of play around with it and see what it's like. Carlos San Diego, thank you much for tuning in. He says, hey, Eric, nice job with the Irish whiskey videos. I learned a lot and added a few to my Christmas list. Me too. Learned a lot too. It was last week or the week before last. I had a great time hanging out with whiskey novice Jim Ingram. Man, his last name slipped my mind. 2 hours hanging out. We had actually a fantastic time, and we talked about the good, the bad, and sort of the meh of Ireland whiskeys. The one I didn't mention during that was Dingle. Dingle was was the number one biggest disappointment out of everything out of Ireland. But there were some fantastic whiskeys. The Powers, John Lane Powers, was awesome. Probably one of them, I would say, of all of them, the one in terms of quality price ratio and the impact of the sherry cask. Absolutely fantastic. I love the green spots, the Chateau Montelena and the Chateau Léoville Barton, and of course Redbreast. Everybody loves Redbreast. Really, I love the Teelings in general, but I don't know. I'm going back into Ireland. But anyway, so we had a great time. Dustin says, aren't the DOT 0.1 Octomores non-Islay barley? He says the 0.3s are Islay barley. I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not an aficionado necessarily on all the Octomores. In fact, I tasted Octomore at the distillery, and I bought a bottle of 8.1. They are very, 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 very expensive, $175 to $200 on release. The Octomore 8.1, search around, it's now $300. That's nutso. That's crazy. I know some people are big Octomore fans, so they buy them all. I'm not one of those people who buys everything. I have other things to explore other than just keep buying Octomore. Dustin says, Powers 12 a year is the best value whiskey, maybe, in my opinion, period. It really is. It really is. Particularly if you're a big sherry fan, highest quality price ratio whiskeys. But I like the peat excuse me. I like the peat sherry combo. I love that combo. So if you give me a peat sherry combo whiskey, man, then you got sweet, you got savory, you got smalty, salty, and smoke and salty is smalty. I bet you didn't know that. It's smalty. So this is a guy who would know. So Jeremy would know that more than I would. He says, yes, Octomore 0.3s are Islay barley, 0.1s are Scottish barley. There you go. See, there you go. And so if that ever comes up in a quiz, I'll get it right, and I can thank Jeremy for that. All right. So if you watch this on a replay, two fantastic whiskeys. If you can get them at retail, close in price, for both 46% ABV. In terms of youthfulness, very, very, very similar. In terms of chocolate character, very, very, very similar. In terms of length, mouthfeel, structure, very, very similar. Primary difference that's going to really pop out and say hello is going to be the stereotypical Islay characteristics of the oceanic character, the medicinal seaweed, you know, on all those characters. And it's sort of, I don't know how to call it, but it's sort of, I'm Ardbeg, you know, whereas this is a little bit more gentle. I would say this is a little more gentle in character, right? Right. But excellent comparison. They seem like cousins. They seem like they could be very much to be cousins growing up on Islay. One grew up on the island, and the other one grew up on the inland, and boom, there you go. But and they're very, very similar. Dustin says the Lagman 25 year is for you, Eric. Mike and I on his channel, or we're reviewing it soon. Okay, cool. Mike who? There's a lot of mics out there. Yeah, it's not cheap. Mike, so remind me who the mic is. Now, score-wise, in terms of points, I have scored Ardbeg 10 over 90. Over 90. I gave this 89, so this close. I think Mike Whiskey Reviews. Okay. Oh, Mike. He used to have someone else who was also. They used to be together. There were two of them, and then for whatever reason they broke off, and now Mike is just out doing his own videos, right? And there was this historical moment where they came on. If the one I'm thinking of, and he had come on to. This is years ago. He had come on to Malta de Montreal, and one guy hung up. Is that the one let me know if that's the one I'm thinking of. Anyway, but I could be wrong. So qualitatively, now this is Billy and him in the distance. Right. Okay, Mike and Billy. All right. I don't know. For those who might be new to the whiskey tubers, that's old history. And there's always a little bit of drama in whatever social circle you're in. That was some drama, historical. I don't think the video's out there anymore. Whatever. Anyway. Oh, no, I've seen some. So when I've been searching for whiskeys online, reviews, I've seen some of yours, a couple of them. It's just been a while. I'll probably need to find the channel and then subscribe. Then I subscribe to like 50 or 60 whiskey tubers, so I can't keep track of all of them. So qualitatively, this is where it gets somewhat subjective. I think. It's really going to come down to a mood. It's really going to come down to what kind of a mood are you in, right? And I think that's really going to be the decision is the mood, because qualitatively, I think they're really close to being on par with each other. I think they're both fantastic whiskeys. But if you're in the mood for something a little more, all right, particularly if you're smoking cigars or something, maybe. All right, then you're probably going to go for the Ardbeg. Now, the ultimate test, we've done about 40, 50 reviews together. Okay. Dustin, since you're a mod, put a link, because most people are going to be able to do that, but since you're a mod, put a link in there so people can check it out. So the ultimate test is the cookie test. The cookie. C is for cookie, and cookie is for me. C is for cookie, and cookie is for me. All right, that's Cookie Monster. Yeah. Ooh. So with wine, right? I've had a lot of wines that by themselves, I thought they were okay. But then when I had them with the right food, it was like, damn. You know what I mean? Damn. Pinot Noir, for example, was a wine I wasn't all that big. It's like, it seemed kind of light, not much tannin, not much. Then I had a Pinot Noir with smoked salmon. Whoa! And then I was in heaven, and I wasn't a salmon fan either. This was in actually a food and wine pairing class I took when I went back to college. And this is a perfect pairing. Jeremy says, I've never owned a bottle of AnCnoc. Crazy, I know. Really? Well, believe it or not, this is my first. Some of the other bottlings are available locally. So I'm probably going to explore them more. I've heard Roy Aquavite say quality price ratio. They're sort of under the radar and not going nutso with the prices. So, all right. So I just brought it up. Mike's Whiskey Reviews. I just subscribed. So I'll check them out later. All right. So thanks for putting that on there, Dustin. And I just subscribed. All right. So food pairing. So there's these things they're called not oxygen wines. But they're made in oxidated. Orange wines. They're called orange wines. What? Orange wines? They're not made with oranges and they don't taste like orange, but they kind of get the color of an orange. And they're made in an oxidative style. And on their own, I think 99% of people would go, ooh. But sommeliers are real big on them. It's a very, 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 very old style. They're found over in northeastern Italy and over the border as well. And on their own, I don't particularly care for them. But I've had them paired with certain dishes that you're like, oh my goodness. Fish dishes, salads with almonds and nuts in them and stuff like that. And I was like, this works really well. So there's some wines that on their own, I'm not going to necessarily be all that big on them, but when you pair them with the right food, it's like, boom, they pop. And sometimes there's some foods, I might not be all that big on them, but you pair them with the right wine and boom, I like the foods. All right. So for me, for peated whiskey, the ultimate pairing is chocolate. So I know you guys are going to watch me eat. A comparison, the ultimate head-to-head comparison for peated whiskeys is going to be chocolate. In this case, a little bit of chocolate cookie. There's a season. All right. I'm going to drink some water. All righty. Not a whole lot of people eat food on a live stream. I've seen Food Quick did. I've seen him eat pizzas. He'll leave the room to go get the pizza. All right. So I still have some cookie in my mouth. Let's try it with a little bit of Peatheart. So how is the whiskey mixing with the chocolate cookie? How are they mixing? Now, we're going into the holidays, going into Christmas. I know, unfortunately, because of all this COVID crap, won't be as many parties and gathering, office parties. Usually, like, you might have an office party and everybody brings stuff, and you have a big office party. All that stuff gets canceled, right, at work. But maybe still get the relatives, maybe still have some with your family, the kids, maybe some close relatives. You have small Christmas gatherings, maybe have some cookies, right? Let's try peated whiskeys with chocolate chip cookies. I think it works really well. Now, the competition pairing, you don't want the food to whatever it is, whether you're talking about whiskeys or you don't want the food to dominate over the wine or the whiskey, so you don't really pick up the characteristics of the food, and you don't want the wine or the whiskey to so dominate that you just can't taste the food. You want a balance, and balance can either be similarities, like and like, right, or opposites, right, sweet and savory, salty and sweet. So like, say like Indian food or Asian food, you get this real spiciness of Asian food. You try it with an off-dry, slightly sweet wine, And the spiciness of the either Indian or Asian food is counterbalanced by the little bit of a sweetness you don't want a super sweet wine, right? You don't want a Sauterne, but just like an off-dry Riesling, something like that, or a Gewürztraminer, and it works really well. Same thing, a similar thing, I think, with chocolate, sweet chocolate, and a whiskey, is you want the chocolate character and the sweetness, and you want the peat and the smoke to sort of go through it and marry really, really, really well. Marry really, really, really well. How old is that cookie? How old is the cookie? Why do you ask? It's a new cookie. It's not an old cookie. I don't know why you would ask how old the cookie is. Why? Because of the crunchiness of it? It's just a crunchy cookie. Anyway, all right. Let's try. And we're hitting, we'll come up close to an hour. So I'm going to wrap this up in a minute. All right. Let's try with the Ardbeg 10. It's a crunchy cookie. It is very crunchy. Some cookies are soft. Some cookies are crunchy. It's a crunchy cookie. Hands down. Oh, yeah. It's a non... Doug, Christoph, you're right. It's a non-age statement cookie. I don't know. I've had it for a week. I don't know. Anyway, hands down. I'll tell you straight up. Man, it's no contest. Another bite. For me, Ardbeg 10. Whoa. I think the peanut, it's very nice, very, very good. No complaints, really. No complaints with the chocolate cookie. But I think they meld so much. A cookie is old after 3 hours of baking. I don't know. I think they meld so much that I think the whiskey actually it melds in so much to where they become one. And the whiskey loses a little bit of distinctiveness in the pairing. Don't get me wrong, it tastes good. Don't get me wrong, it tastes good. But I think it loses some of its distinctiveness where it's no longer shining, as it's still maintaining its character as the whiskey. Whereas, I'm going to pour a little bit more. Excuse me. Whereas I think with a little bit of that oceanic character being very much more distinct and not as similar to the chocolate and the peated cookie in the peated cookie in the whiskey in chocolate chip cookie. So the chocolate on chocolate works well, but the smoky, briny characteristics of the whiskey is able to sort of shine through and say, hello, I'm still here. That's really the issue. With the Peatheart, it's like they go together and stay together. With the Ardbeg kind of comes through. They grasp hands together really, really well, but the Ardbeg is able to push through and say, hello, I'm still here. And that's why, for me, I like the Ardbeg. For the competition, the Ardbeg, I think, does really, really, really well. Absolutely. Fantastic whiskey with a very crunchy chocolate chip cookie. Now, if you had nuts, might be different. I don't know. All righty. So we just hit the top of the hour. We've been live for an hour. I want to thank everyone who has tuned in. Got 24 people watching. Been on for live an hour. If you're watching on the replay, make a comment if you have any questions or anything like that. And if you haven't yet already, please subscribe. Dustin, Drew, Swamp Thing B, thanks very much for tuning in. And everyone else, thanks for tuning in. And I will be back next Friday. We'll do this again next Friday. And have a great weekend. And until next time, hold on. Right here. Cheers.